So we're really excited to have Ellen Castro, who's our Chief Energizing Officer of Ellen Castro, or Ellen Castro. She's an executive coach. She's also a best-selling and award-winning author, but she comes with a wealth of experience. Ellen, I'm just going to brag on you a little bit. Ellen was the top Latina at ExxonMobil back in the 70s. So that's a huge feat, not just being Latina, but she's also a female in a very male-dominated industry. And she was able to advance to the executive suite. After years of working and her background, she's actually now changed her path, and she's focusing on empowering us and empowering others, and is coaching others how to climb into the C-suite and basically do what she did. So we're really fortunate to have her. Ellen, yeah, I'm so grateful to have you. I just wanted to start off with a story of like how we met. I was actually in an event. We were hosting an event in Dallas, and our speaker actually couldn't make it. He was in a car accident, and we had over 100 people waiting to hear from this executive, and we were scrambling. In comes Ellen, signing in as a guest. We just started talking, and I was like, wow, you would be great. Would you be willing to step in and be our speaker? And Ellen said yes. And the rest is history.
That's right.
So Ellen, thank you again for taking time to do this session for us. We really appreciate it. And with that, I'll just pass it over to you.
Well, I'm honored and humbled to be part of this session, and knowing you, Candelario, is wonderful. And I think if I was going to say anything for anyone listening, you just never know when you're going to be called upon to serve. Be ready. You never know when you're going to meet the person that you're going to know for the rest of your life, like I plan to know Candelario. So just be ready and just know that no matter what, you're making an impact. So I'm humbled and honored to be here. I am delighted that Candelario thought of me. And with that, I think we should go straight into our presentation. Well, again, we're talking about making yourself relevant and soaring and igniting your leadership. I have to tell you that while I hope to ignite you on this call, I assume you already are ignited, or you wouldn't be part of this call. You'd be having a St. Patty's Day beer someplace or something like that. Or maybe you're going after it. The bottom line is, everyone can ignite you, but you have to be accountable. And that's why I said every choice impacts your relevancy. I can help you. I can be your advisor. I can be your advocate. But when push comes to shove, it's going to be you taking action, like Candelario being at that event and saying, Ellen, will you step in? Having the courage to do that, and I did that. So one of the quotes that I most like is on the screen, and it's just that we are far too smart to be the only thing standing in our way. And yet when I speak to most of my executives that I coach, when I speak to my audiences in 11 different countries, it seems that we're the ones who minimalize ourselves. We're the ones who marginalize ourselves. So for any of you out there who are feeling a bit marginalized because, I was teaching at UNT, I did a class the other day at UNT, and someone said, I feel marginalized, what can I do? The first thing you have to do is change that thought. If you believe you're marginalized, you will be marginalized. So enough with that, and then we'll move on. But again, I think what you think about yourself is so much more important than what others think about you. So on the next slide, I'm glad you're here because I get to serve, and I'm glad I'm here. And I have to tell you, you matter. I know you're some way part of Teach for America. Your impact is far-reaching, and you can imagine how powerful you are. I have to tell you a story. I was speaking 3 weeks ago at Alma Heights Independent School District, which is a school district that I graduated from many years ago, 45 years ago, in fact. And if it had not been for my first grade teacher, Mrs. Fleming, I don't know that I feel like crying now. I don't know I'd be on this call. She saved my life. My home life was a wreck. A little bit about that. My dad was a raging alcoholic. My mother was nutty as a fruitcake, committed suicide. My grandfather was a pig. That's all I'll say about that. And I never felt any sense of acceptance. And I go into my first grade teacher, and she looks at me with the eyes of love. And I was like, oh, my goodness, I count. I matter. And it's because of Mrs. Fleming that she changed the direction of my life. So for all of you out there, I think sometimes we wonder, are we making a big enough impact? How can we make a bigger impact? By Mrs. Fleming impacting my life the way she did, I have now impacted thousands of people's lives by the grace of God. So you just don't minimize the impact that you have. I also want to tell you about this one teacher, Mrs. Durham. Oh, my goodness gracious. I still remember her. She had 3 hairs on her chin, had a pencil in her hair bun. And I'll never forget, she told me in advanced English class that don't sit for that test, Ellen. You don't have the money, nor will you pass. And it was to get placed out of English in college before you go to college and Spanish. And I looked, I said, well, why can't I place out? She goes, well, you know. And that comment could have killed a lot of people, but it just made me more of a fighter since I was a fighter since childhood. So I proved her wrong. And in my advanced English class of 35 people, only 2 of us got advanced placement, and I was one of them. So my point of that long and boring story is be a Mrs. Fleming, don't be a Mrs. Durham. And the truth is, they all have roles, but all I know is that if you can be a Mrs. Fleming, that is fantastic. So if we go to the next slide, that'd be great. To me, this is the whole essence of leadership. This is the whole essence of why you're here on this earth. And that is, number one, to share your riches with everybody. So it's really important for you to understand what your gifts are, because when you know what your gifts are, you can share those gifts freely with others. When you know what your gifts are, you can stand back with pride and with focus and service and a service of excellence and give. And also what I know, again, Mrs. Fleming, I'll remember her to the day I die. I still pray for her at times when I'm sitting there going, Mrs. Fleming, I can't believe what you did for me. And it's how she made me feel. Do I remember who won the Oscars at this point? No, and it only happened a week, 3 weeks ago. So it's how you make people feel. So I just want to say that everything you do is going to either make someone feel good about themselves or feel worse about themselves. And so, again, you have a very far-reaching impact. Next slide, please. My biggest deal is change your thoughts, change your world. It is huge. Just like Mrs. Fleming, I changed with her and her look of love. I changed my thoughts from why am I here to I am smart, I am bright, I can make a difference. And what I know is that as you change your thoughts and you realize just how important you are to this world, and you realize that life is for you, and you realize you were made on purpose for a purpose, you're going to change your behaviors, you're going to change your experience, and you're going to have a lot more happiness in your life. And the greatest thing you can do to serve others and the leadership and other people is to like what you're doing, be happy with what you're doing, and that'll make a huge impact. If you see me looking down occasionally, I have to let you know that I was so excited about this, and I'm supposed to tell you my 35 years of experience, all my experience as a global coach, 2 books worth in 30 minutes. I'm like panicked. So if I'm talking fast, I apologize. I'm so excited. Anyhow, so I want to build your leadership muscle, and the best way to build your leadership muscle is know that if you are powerful, if you change your thought, it will change your world. It's kind of liar to tell you the most beautiful story about me at Exxon. However, I battered my head on the glass ceiling, and I ended up basically not being a happy camper, and because of that, to be quite honest, I gave my soul away at work, because at that point what was important for me was making up the corporate ladder, proving to people that Mexicans are more than factory workers, because that's kind of been my lucha since I was in an all-white school, to tell everybody. And then I went to SMU and got an MBA, and that's another white school. But, there's no wasted experiences. Because of that, it's really helped me in my corporate experiences be very comfortable with who I am and presenting to the audience. But all of that aside is that Exxon, I battered my head. It was not happy, so I ended up leaving Exxon, and because I left Exxon, I actually got to go to Harvard to get a second master's in education. So again, what could have been what I thought was my worst failure in my life turned out to be a great learning for me that Exxon didn't define me. My failure, my perceived failure at Exxon, even though I was the highest ranking female at marketing, I knew I wasn't going to hire the path. That quote, failure, led me to going to Harvard, and that led me to being on this phone talking to you. And I'm telling you, I'm happy, I'm motivated. I can assure you if I was still working at Exxon, I'd be guzzling vodka and munching on antidepressants. Oh, God, what a horrible thought. But instead, here I am, and Here and Happy on No Meds is my next book. So with that, if you'd like to go to the next flip chart, slide, you have to just know how important people smarts is. Again, getting back to that thought about how do you make people feel. 69% of your job performance is going to be based on whether or not people get along with you. And we're going to be talking a lot on this call on how do you do that? How do you get people to get along with you? Because I agree with Theodore Roosevelt, the most important single ingredient to success is to get along with others. That is why my consulting practice, and I've had for over 25 years as an entrepreneur, every single one of my clients has been word of mouth and repeat business, and I'm not just saying that to brag. I'm saying that because if people like you, they're going to help you. And if you don't have people smarts, people aren't going to really help you because it's like people help people they like. And the other thing I have up there, you see 90% is what differentiates a leader from a manager. And if you're on this call, I know you're a leader. If you're taking this time, I know you're a leader. So as we continue to have this dialogue and chat, and you hear me just tell you how life is wonderful, do know the most important thing, again, I'll mention is how do you feel about yourself? You feel good about yourself, and you feel good about yourself, and you're going to be able to help others feel good about themselves. The next one, please. Now, questions to SOAR. It's kind of like I had a great conversation, a couple actually, before this call, and he was saying that you don't know if you're in the right job to make the most impact on school reform. Well, as I sat and thought about that, again, I want to tell you that you never know the impact you're having, and don't get caught up in the numbers. You might think, well, I'm only impacting 2 people a day, but those 2 people you might, by through them, be impacting thousands. You just never know. Again, to me, it's that heart of service, it's that heart of excellence. So the questions I want you to ask yourself are, is the impact I'm having on others positive or negative? That's huge. Because if you're not having a positive impact on people, they're not going to perceive you as a leader, and they're not going to, most importantly, listen to what you have to say. So besides, do I have a positive or negative impact on others, am I in the right job, period? For me, when my first job in Exxon was in finance, which makes sense that I had an MBA in accounting. However, I didn't like it. I'm a people person. So I had to go, and I went to my manager and said, you know what, I want off this track. I cannot do the financial planning track. That is not my nature. So I got into the service station business. I got into the marketing business, and that resonated with me. And the other thing is, what is your why? What is my why? My why is so big that it has helped me through the ups and downs of the economy. You've got to know what your why is. Why are you here? What makes you happy? Again, if you're shining your light and you're doing what you want to do, you can then be an inspiration to others versus you're just kind of showing up. So one thing I want to mention here, I got so excited when Candelario told me that some of you were wondering about questions about, are you in the right career? And one of the things I do as an executive coach is career counseling and coaching, is I've actually came up with a 2-page PDF that'll help you with these penetrating questions that will get you to know within your heart if you're in the right path. And if you send me an email at Ellen@EllenCastro, I will send them to you. The reason I am not going to have Candelario send this out to you via email is that I really want to emphasize here that you have to be accountable and take action. For you to get the most out of this, like you took action, you called into this, great. Take action and email me or call me and say, I want this PDF, and I'm happy to send it to you. Because, again, no one cares more about your career than you. Your parents might tell you think you know what your career is. Your friends might say this is your best career, but no one knows better than you, and you are the secret to your own success. Next page, please. So here's some important reality checks. I mean, I think it's really hysterical because people say they hire me to come in and do surveys with people and say, how's this leader doing? And it's really, I always ask the leader quite simply, when you speak, do people listen? And often they'll like dead, be quiet in their tracks. Well, they should listen to me. I'm the executive VP. Doesn't matter. That position and title doesn't make people listen to you. They might acquiesce to you, but do they truly listen to you? Because only when people really want to listen to you and hear you speak can you get your message heard. And I think we all want our message heard. The other simple question, when people walk up, do they smile? Do they grin us? Start being conscious about that. The answers matter. If you come walking down the hall and you see people running towards the bathroom, that's not a good sign. If you see people running towards you and saying, hey, how you doing today? Mindy, life good? How you doing, Ron? That's a great sign. If people don't even notice you, that's also not a good sign because you need to be visible. If you want to make an impact, you have to be visible. And sometimes in our culture, I'll be the first to say it, we're kind of taught, be a little bit invisible. You know, it's a little bit safer that way. But if you're going to make an impact in this world, you have to be visible. If you're going to make an impact in this world, you have to be able to have your message heard. So based on that, I'd like to go to the next slide, which I love what Barbara Walters said. Everything you do communicates. Your whole destiny depends on the impression you make. Isn't that an amazing thought? And I want you to know that even before you speak, and I said to people, when you speak to people, listen, are they texting, are they rolling their eyes? Just by when you walk into the room, people are already making a determination. Candelario said I walked into this event and we started talking. When I make it a point, when I walk in with confidence. And the truth is I have confidence now. I've earned my confidence. and if you walk in confidently, people see that. So when you walk in, even before you speak, people are already making a decision about you. Are your shoulders back? Are you having eye contact? Are you smiling? And you know what else is important? Your reputation. Because now people know me and people know you, and people say, yay, Candelario, I'll do it for Candelario. If someone else would have called me, I go, probably not, because their reputation's in the background. So even if you don't know the crowd you're walking into, 10 to 1, someone has already said something. Or that meeting, someone's already said, hey, guess what? Someone is going to be at this meeting. And when they say it, they're either saying, guess what? Ellen's going to be at this meeting. They're saying, oh, God, Ellen's going to be at this meeting. And guess what? That's going to impact whether or not your message is heard. All right, the next one. Any questions so far? Oh, my goodness. I don't want to be a talking head, but I can talk forever on the subject matter. Okay, I love what Nietzsche said. There are no facts, only interpretations. Meaning is in people. I can tell you some generalizations. I can help you understand. But bottom line, you got to know each individual person. You have got to know what makes them tick. Because what makes Candelario tick is probably different than what makes Mindy tick, which makes Johnny Rose tick differently. So, and know that, again, everything communicates. If I was on this phone, can you imagine if I was saying, well, I'm really glad to talk to you about an impact. Oh, yeah, I'm going to ignite your leadership. Can you imagine? You wouldn't believe me. I wouldn't believe me. So everything communicates. So communicate your enthusiasm, communicate your love for life, and know that there's no neutral actions. I have to tell you something that is just so unbelievable. You're always making an impact. It's either positive or negative. There are no neutral impact, no neutral actions, and everything you do is either going to help you and help you soar and help you make a bigger impact, or it's going to do just the opposite, and the choice is yours. Next slide. All right, here is my model that I have used from Africa to France to the United States to Canada. I've also used it at SMU, where I taught the Business Leadership Center for over 20 years. I used it at UNT, where I taught Latinas in Leadership, and that was very exciting. And I had to tell you about my Latinas in Leadership class. And I'm not trying to, your role in life is to make people feel better about themselves, at least, especially if you're a teacher students need us. When my Latinas walked in, it was an inaugural class. They called me in out of the clear blue and said, Ellen Castro, you're a role model in the community. Do you mind teaching this class? I was like, whoa, 16 times to Denton? Then I thought, you know what? This is about impacting people's lives. I'll do it. So these women walked into my class, and I was like, oh, my goodness. You could tell they felt marginalized. You could tell they didn't feel like they belonged. You could tell they were tired. When they left that class, they left empowered, they left poised, they left confident. That's how much impact you have as teachers. You can change people's lives, and those women today are now graduating from college. I'm so excited. They keep in contact with me because they sound their comadre. So make every interaction count. So my motto real quick, it's all about trust. People either have to work for you or they love working for you. And if people have to work for you, you're just going to get minimum effort. If people love to work for you, they're going to stay the extra mile. They're going to go the extra mile. They're going to do everything they know to be extraordinary. And when people love to work for you, they will, they have your back. And they have your back because you have their back. So one of the biggest roles of a leader, one of the biggest roles of a teacher is somehow to engage the other person's heart. Just like I know Candelario, and not only does he engage me mentally, he engages me from my heart. And I would do anything for Candelario. Those are the kind of people that you want in your camp or in your life, because it works both ways. And again, if people feel like they have to, if people feel like they can barely survive around you because you're taking up too much airspace, because you're always taking credit for their success, that is not going to help you have the impact you want to have. It's going to have a very negative impact. And so, again, what you want to do in life, and I see this works for leaders as well as for personally, you've got to move out of fear to trust. You've got to trust again that life is for you. You've got to trust you're here to provide something and you've got to be committed to the bigger good. And get out of any kind of surviving mode that you might be. I had to laugh because I was talking before this call that as I had a talk with Candelaria about people feeling marginalized. I mean, I think everyone in life feels a bit marginalized. I mean, people who are overweight probably feel marginalized. People who don't have an education don't feel marginalized. I mean, there's always reason to think you're feeling marginalized. Again, don't let it happen. Only you can let it happen. But after my talk with Candelaria, I was thinking, my God, I'm feeling marginalized because of my age. I'm in my 60s. In the United States, in our society, you're supposed to be retired, your best days are behind you. And I'm sitting here and I went, oh, my goodness, that wonderful conversation with Candelario made me realize that I was trying to minimize who I was because of what society said versus the energy I have towards life. So, again, love your life. If you're thriving, people around you will thrive. So if we go to the next chart.
Ellen, quick question. How do
yes.
you go about getting out of that mind frame of being marginalized?
Oh, it's constant work. It is constant work. Did I just drop out?
No, you're there.
Oh, okay,
No.
great. All right, sorry. Okay, thank you. Okay, it has been a constant battle for me because from childhood I was marginalized. My mom, she basically said I was abortion. God didn't even want me back. So, I mean, it's a constant fight for me. And I think it's a constant fight for all of us because our society or our well-meaning parents or someone says, you know what, you're not enough. And the truth is, who you are is enough. So you have to constantly keep telling yourself, I have worth it because I do. I am priceless. So it's a hard habit to break, but I believe you can break it, but you have to constantly remember when you're being triggered and going, like when I thought about our conversation, I thought, oh my goodness, I'm feeling marginalized. I thought, okay, how have I done that? And I started thinking, how will I stop doing that? And again, it's really living intentionally. I hope that helps. All right, my 3 C's for leadership. This will help you not feel marginalized because if you do these C's, you're going to feel so good about your life that you're going to live dynamically, you're going to have confidence, and you're not going to care what people say. You're not going to care if people say, oh, she's just a Latina. Oh, she's, who cares? Again, it's what you care. And so I only have these up here, and I don't have the time to talk you through all these, but what I have to tell you that is really I became passionate about leadership after I lost my soul at Exxon. And I thought, not only did I lose my soul, but I lost my credibility, which is the first C. Can I trust you? I didn't even trust myself after the Exxon experience, and that's what led me to write Spirited Leadership, 50 Ways to Build Trust. And that's what led me to study my master's in education at Harvard, because I want to know, what is making me tick? There has to be more to life. So I just wanted to put these C's out there. It might be because my last name's Castro and I like C, or because I like cats. But regardless, we'll go to the next chart, and it will tell you what credibility is comprised of. I have to tell you right now, if you don't feel credible, if you are not credible, you will not have your message heard. If you are not credible, you will not be seen as a leader. Your credibility begins with you. So when this is about being marginalized, I think if you're credible, it's very hard to feel marginalized. Number one, again, you have to be conscious. Everything communicates. Your thoughts drive your behavior. So if you're thinking, I don't belong in this meeting, then you're going to act like you don't belong in that meeting. And in fact, that's not helping you. You need to sit back and say, I do belong in this meeting. I belong to sit at this table. You have to have courage, because it's difficult sometimes to have your voice heard. It's difficult to be the one in the room who voices your opinion, but you have to be courageous and say what's right. And I can assure you, I might flex the way I approach people. I do not flex on my values anymore. Having lost them at Exxon, I will not lose my soul again. Character. Obviously, if people are going to trust you, have to have character. I don't mean go, she's quite a character. I don't mean that kind of character. I mean the kind of character that you trust that the person has ethics, they have morals. You have to be competent. There's no doubt about it. But when I was teaching to 285 of the brightest in Stockholm for Ericsson's think tank, I had them raise their hands. I said, would you rather work for someone extremely bright with no people skills, or someone quasi-bright with people skills? And everyone's hand said they'd rather work with someone with people skills. So folks, even the brightest of the brightest say people skills count. So you do have to have bare competence, obviously. However, if you can't get along with people, they won't listen to whether or not you have competence. And where you are in the hierarchical chain, I hate to put it that way, does make a difference. When I ran service stations, when I was actually in the service station, so I knew how to run a Transact and how to run a self-serve station, because I wanted to be able to send cashiers home. But when I became a supervisor over car care centers and 500 employees in a $90 million profit center, then what mattered most, did I know what retail practices look like? Did I know how to get teamwork going? So again, your competence and your level of competence does change where you are. Your commitment, be committed, but not to yourself, to the common good. Be committed to doing what's right. Be committed to doing what's right. If you always take the high road, you will win. I can assure you will always win. As for consistency, I'm telling you, no one deserves your bad moods. Be consistent. I know we have good days. I know we have bad days, but be consistent in your moods. And when I say that, if you know you're having a bad day at work, when I have a bad day, I tell people, I'll tell my client, you know what, I had flat in the way to work today. I apologize, I'm not my usual upbeat self. And they get it. But no one deserves to have to sit there and live in fear. If you walk in, you're clumping your heels, or walking in and you're saying, hi. Be consistent in your moods. Also be consistent that your actions match your words. If I say what really matters is the customer, and then you come in with a customer question, and I roll my eyes and go, oh yeah, or you say, and I say, our students really matter. And then you say, Ellen, I need you to talk to one of our students. I don't have time. What are they going to believe? Do I care about the students, or I don't have time? So you have to be consistent, because people are going to believe your actions, not your words. And if you do those top 6 things, I promise you guys, you can have confidence. You're going to enter every single meeting with poise, with grace, with confidence, with humility, because you know what? Your confidence comes from within. It's not what society tells you. It's not what anyone tells you. It's because you know that you have worth, you know you're doing a good job, you know you have a spirit of excellence, and you know that you have a rightful place in this world. So when I say we have met the enemy and he is us, again, get out of your head. Whatever is holding you back, stop listening to those lies. If you say, well, I need more education, then get more education. But if you say, well, if I was just shorter, taller. Well, you know what? You're not going to change that. So we're either get boots with tall heels or wheel stilettos or whatever. But work on those things you can change, the things that you can improve on, and you will have a great life. Next slide. All right. So okay. So my 3 C's for soaring. Again, you got to be credible. And the most important to be credible, too, is yourself. If you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm doing my best job, I trust myself, other people will trust you. You've got to show compassion, people. And compassion is as simple as common courtesy. I don't know how many people have lost the ability of common courtesy. A please and a thank you cares a lot. When I say, how are you? I look at them and say, how are you? I don't walk away and go, how are you? And run fast. Okay, so if you show that you care about others, other people will show that they care about you. And absolutely make connections. I read your website, looked at everything. Well, Lucha, we can do it all together. Together we are more important. Together we can tell people that Latinos are not what the stereotype is. We can break those stereotypes. And stereotypes are broken one person at a time, one interaction at a time. We're all trailblazers in our own right. So again, use we. Nothing to me is more boring than I'm sitting in executives, because a lot of times I get to observe executives and sit in executive meetings and I hear the executive go, I did this and I did that and I did this and my budget. Hello, it's not their budget, it's the company's budget. Hello, it's their team's success, it's not their success. I is a very small word. It does not engage the heart. So use we, us, ours, and I tell you, it will make a difference. And again, as Albert Schweitzer, great guy that he was, example is what's going to count. It's not what you say, it's how you act, it's what you do. It's you're living your legacy in this very moment. Next. You know the 3 universal needs, but again, and I know that you being in the Teach for America, you know this, but I just have to emphasize it, and that is a sense of belonging. Everyone wants to know they matter, a sense of appreciated and value. Everyone wants to know that. Everyone wants to know they make a difference. And simply state it in the next slide. It's really simply stated as, next slide, I belong, I am valued, I make a difference. So please live consciously, because everything you do, you will evoke emotions. You will evoke the emotion. Yes, you belong, or no, you don't belong. Everything you're going to do is going to either build someone's self-esteem or destroy it. And everything you're going to do is either going to build a sense of community or destroy it. And you know what? The choice is yours. And I know that every place I go, I try to enlarge my sense of team. All right, next slide. So here's Ignite Your Leadership and Soar. Consider these insights. Everyone's on your team for greatness. Even Mrs. Durham, had she not told me I wasn't smart enough to pass that test, I didn't have the money to pass that test, I wouldn't have proved her wrong. So even her, she was on my team for greatness because she gave me strength. So there's no exceptions. The person who's a thorn on your side, say, yay! You're teaching me strength. You're teaching me patience. You're teaching me that I need to speak up. Triggers are just friends in disguise. When I know I'm being triggered, I sit there and I go, you know what? You're a friend. So, and what triggers me? Someone being condescending? Oh, my goodness. I can feel my alien come out of my chest. Some of you might be too young to remember the Alien, but it's this movie where this alien comes out of their chest and rips people's heads and kills them. And now I just have to say, okay, calm down. Don't rip someone's head off. And I just realize it's just a coaching moment, and I try and find out more information. What I have also found, just 3 things that I use right now, if I'm triggered, I go, well, isn't that amusing, to myself. I don't say it to them. If someone like belittles me, I go, well, isn't that amusing? Because it's their stuff. It's not my stuff. I also go, nice problem to have. I'm sitting here, I'm having computer problems, I'm being triggered because, gosh, I'm not technically competent. Then my other thing is saying, like, yay, at least I have a computer. Nice problem to have. And the other one that I use all the time is, oops, everything's the coaching moment. I can tell you, I teach this, I live this, I pray about this, and I still make mistakes. Oops. Ask for forgiveness and move on, because guess what? There's no wasted experiences. Me battering my head on Exxon would not have led me to where I am today. Yay, Exxon. No, I'm not buying their gas. not that I hold grudges. However, there is no wasted experience. I'm grateful for what they did. And again, there's no failures. Had I not, quote, failed at Exxon, I would never have gotten where I am today. All of your failures, you might think, well, I failed to do this and I failed to do that. Well, you know what I want you to do today? I want you to think about all your successes. You're on this call. I consider you a success. I'm celebrating who you are for now because you're on this call. So remember, start thinking about everything you do, and do know that the only failure in my belief system is if you don't get back up. Mrs. Durham said I was going to fail, but I got back up, which leads me to my happy face. This is a happy face. This is so funny. So let me tell you a story about this. I was having the worst day of my life. I was in San Jose, California on a major consulting gig, and I was just in tears. I was on the floor crying. I go, I can't do this. I can't executive coach these people. I can't find a solution. And there's a leak in Dallas underneath my house. On and on and on and on. I'm just crying like a baby. And I have to be at work in 1 hour, right, and look like an executive, right? World-class executive, no less. So as I watched him, I said, I just need a sign that life's going to be okay. And guess what? I look in the sink, even without my glasses, it's a smiling face. So what that is to tell you is that there's no wasted experience. Life is for you. It's always going to get better. Next slide. So relevancy begins with you, and it ends with you. You are master of your destiny. Everything communicates. I cannot emphasize it enough. There are no neutral actions. You're always on stage. Had I walked into Candelario's event that day looking pitiful, he would say, "Hey, Ellen, you want to speak?" And everything counts consciously. What counts is your thoughts. And remember, it's all about trust. Begin to trust yourself. But trust that life is for you, and trust that there are no wasted experiences. Next. So I definitely want you to have some time and think about some of these. I want you to really think of these questions to make a positive impact, to live from your passion and your potential so that your message is heard. I want you to think about what can you start doing? What can you stop doing? What can you continue to do? Because it always begins with you. When I first started, one of the first things I had to stop was talking too fast, even though I've talked way too fast in this call to try and get all the word in. I had to stop interrupting people. But I knew I could continue my smile because I really absolutely do love people. So I really want you to take time and look at these questions. Again, ellencastro.com. I'm happy to help you through some of these questions, but it all begins with you and self-reflection. Next slide. I see you. I love that. For anyone who saw Avatar, the secret to good networking, the secret to making someone feel belonged, valued, and appreciated. I see you. You see them. You see them with your eyes. You see them with your heart. That's what counts. Know that everybody needs cheerleading, including me. So, I mean, there's no one you're going to meet who doesn't need a cheerleader. So be that light. Be that encourager. Ignite their leadership. Ignite their greatness. Be constructive and solution-focused. If you're always there blaming the other person, you're never going to get hot. You're never going to change. Blame takes away your power. The only way you're going to live your best life is to be empowered. The only person who's going to empower you is you. So, again, be constructive and be solution-focused. Be generous with your support and praise. Be kind or be quiet. There's enough naysayers. There's enough people trying to destroy people. You do not need to be one of those people. And listen more and speak less. The more you listen, the more people feel valued. The more you understand their frame of reference, the more you understand their meaning. And in bottom line, and keep this real simple, just love more. Wake up every day and say, whose miracle can I be? How can I show more love today? And when you're about to get angry, go, how can I show myself more love today? How can I let that trigger pass? And how can I just give myself the break I need? Next slide. Basically, I want to tell you that we live in a world that's telling us, don't be us. And I want to tell you, be you. You were created on purpose for a purpose. You were created with a single and unique DNA, fingerprints, even your teeth, your voice pattern. So you have a purpose, you have a passion. I want you to live it because we need you. You matter. And I believe in you, and I know that you can soar, and I know you have wings, and I think that one day will happen quicker and faster with each of us doing our best and being role models in this world of the possibilities and potential. And as we share from our gifts, other people want to share their gifts, and one day everybody will have a great education. Everyone will have a great life. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Or now, do we have, and I want to wish everyone a clovers, happy clovers. May all your days be filled with four-leaf clovers. All right.
All right, if anyone has questions, please. Ellen's open to taking questions around, like, anything, around career paths, like any type of, like, question you have around if you're in the right position.
Or if you think you're anything about leadership.
Right.
I'm healthy. You see all these gray hairs, all these continents? I've earned every single one of them. I've learned the whole hard way. Okay, I'll keep quiet now.
Ellen, you're getting some love in the chat. I know you're not watching the chat, but people are commenting on your energy and your passion and your expertise and thanking you for coming.
Oh, well, thank you. But, you have 11 more minutes of my fantastic time, or at least 5 more minutes. I would love to answer. And, the only reason I have passion people is because of people like you who want to learn, who want to grow, and I'm here to help each and every one of you try and do that. Again, if you're worried about your career, if you're in the right career, I came with a PDF just for you, but you're going to have to reach out to me. And if I don't answer in 24 hours, then send me another email because, this is what I don't like about email. Email's great, but sometimes you get lost in cyberspace. So one thing here's a word of advice I want to give you. If you don't hear back from somebody, don't assume they don't want to talk to you or don't assume they don't want to answer your email. Pick up the phone and say, did you get my email? Because sometimes they didn't get your email. Candelario sent me an email saying, did you happen to get this? And I hadn't gotten it. It was about this. And I was like, I need to follow up with him. So I love technology. I love it. A lot of times, though, you have to go that extra step and make that phone call. And face-to-face is always good. And I see up here, how can you leverage your network? You're always networking, always. Know that. And how can you leverage your network? I think the way I don't even think that I don't use the word networking because when I think of networking, I think of using people, but I think that I make connections, and for me, connections mean that I help people make connections with other people, and I help connect them to people they want to know. I help them connect them to their passion and to their purpose. But that's the best use of, quote, network, leveraging your network. How can you serve others? And when you're there to help others, guess what? They're going to help you. It works that way.
I actually have a question if nobody else is speaking up. In the slide that you showed that had the triangle, and you were talking about working for the love piece and the trust and working for someone you love, I'm just curious, like, what advice do you have for someone who does love what they do, but maybe doesn't love who they're working for, or like they're in a team culture where perhaps like there's not that like sense of love and trust going around? How do you manage yourself through or like navigate a difficult or a tricky culture at work?
Oh, and that one, number one, it takes a lot of living consciously. And there are a lot of tricky cultures. I just did a team building last week for an organization, and I was just amazed because this organization's mission is to help others, and I couldn't believe the lack of trust. And I think that the way that you navigate it is to understand if there's a lack of trust, there's probably something going on with the communications. So if somehow you can start being a better communicator and help people on the team communicate better. I would also say if you don't really love the person that you're working with, because trust me, I've worked with some clients that really don't do the happy dance, but then I go, yay, they pay my bills, and that makes me kind of happy, or I go, yay, so there's always that frame of reference, yay, and I think that's one thing about if you're in a job right now you're not really that happy with, then if you're staying there, then find the reason why you're staying there. If it's to pay off your student loans, to go, yay, I get to go to work and pay off my student loans. Don't minimize that. But going back to the person you don't like working with, what I have found, because at Exxon there were several people who obviously didn't want a female Latino working for them, I would ask them, what can I do to help make you successful? And I made the conversation about them. And by doing that, they all of a sudden thought, oh, well, okay, she's going to make me successful, then maybe that'll open the communications. So a lot of times it's taking going out and asking that, how can I make you be successful? What can I do differently? And that might help. You can, if you're on a team that's backstabbing each other, then maybe at your next team meeting you go, you know what, let's have a new ground rule. Let's say we talk to each other, not about each other, and make a big laugh about it. But someone's going to have to change that dynamic. And it's great if it's the leader, but if it's not the leader, then that's time for you to be visible, and you can take those baby steps and being a leader and say, you know what, team, I think we could really function better if we had a higher degree of trust. Let's go around this table and say, you know, what's your number one for trust, Mindy? And what's your number one, Candelario? And then let people voice what their number one is for trust, and then say, okay, Doc, why don't we commit that this week we're really going to work on that person's number one for trust? So again, I can totally assure you that there was a recent study that at 2/3 of the people at work, only 1/3 are actively engaged in their work. That to me was very frightening, because that's a lot of waste of energy, passion, purpose, talent. But that's probably because they don't like who they're working for, or they don't trust their teammates. So change that. Change that. Be that light. Be that person that tries to change the environment and the culture. And again, if the culture is just too much for you, as Exxon was for me, I said it's time to cut bait. I took my severance package, and I, by the grace of God, ended up at Harvard. So there you go. So again, if you're going to stay, though, stay with a smile and do the best to change the situation. Does that help?
Yeah, very, very helpful. Ellen, do you, what do you think is the difference between, or is there a difference between leadership and Latino leadership? How do you think about those things?
Well, you know, considering I've taught leadership, and thank you for asking. That's a very good question. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think that what I'm trying to cover is leadership that works globally, and the triangle that I spoke to works whether it was in Africa or in Germany or in Mexico. I've actually done this in Mexico, or here in the States. So I think that we first need to be seen as leaders, and then the Latino then becomes a Latino leader. Does that make any sense? I think that, and I don't know if that's really the answer. Yes, I think Latinos have a different spin on Latino. I'm part of the H100, which is a very outspoken group of women in the DFW area who are huge, sit on many boards, et cetera, et cetera. And I notice that our style is different, and maybe we bring a little bit more warmth, and maybe we bring a little bit more color to it. The bottom line is, we have in common, we have some executive presence. We care more about a spirit of excellence and service. And we don't really none of us harp about really look at our name and look at that. We really just plan on being the example, and then people go, oh, wow, there's Mary Jo, she's a Latino leader. Wow, there's Ellen, she's another Latino leader. So, again, I think we get lost sometimes in trying to say, what does Latino leadership like, and what does this look like? But I think, just get back to, just be a good leader. And then add your spin to it. I'm sure I'm more of a Latino leader than I am an Anglo leader, only because I am Latina, I am passionate, I am colorful, and I use my hands and all that kind of good stuff too. But I think that really has a lot to do with my temperament too, which is I am very energetic. So did that help you answer your question correctly?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for answering the question. That took courage.
Ellen, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, this is Jeremy. I just want to thank you so much for your advice and wisdom and energy. This was such a wonderful use of my hour, and I just really appreciate you taking the time for all of us.
Well, I want to thank you and everyone who's on this for taking the time to even be on this. That tells me you already are a leader. And I am great, and thank you for saying you heard the cheerleader needs a cheerleader, so thank you for that. And we all need a positive feedback, so thank you. And again, if I was just going to end with anything, I was just going to say each and every one of you makes a huge difference. Live from your dreams. Don't live from your fears. I believe in each, and truly, I do believe in each and every one of you. And each one of you has genius and greatness that's already showing or ignited, and I know that you can just make such a huge contribution to the world at large. And I'm just grateful that you gave me the chance for this to be here with you. So thank you, and God bless you, and have a wonderful life. And you go, be the champions that you are.